I am Dr. Nisarga, Professor of Pediatrics at Oxford Medical College. The today's topic is protein energy malnutrition and severe acute malnutrition. The definition of malnutrition is wonderfully given in Park's Preventive and Social Medicine. It states that it is a clinical state resulting from either relative or absolute deficiency or excess of one or more nutrients in the diet of the child. Carefully analyze. It is the relative or absolute deficiency or excess of one or more nutrients in the diet of the child. Wonderful definition actually. It covers not only the undernutrition but also the overnutrition like obesity. Undernutrition starts from inadequate consumption or poor absorption or excess loss of nutrients from the body. Overnutrition by consuming more the nutrients. The Marasmus, Marasmus, these are the terminologies where I am going to explain in detail in future slides. Coming to the epidemiology, nutrition is a very important aspect in the life, not only for the human beings, for all the animals and even plants. Without proper nutrition, we cannot ensure proper development and growth and development. Both will be affected. To ensure this growth, that is a physical, and the development, that is mental, we need to have good nutrition right from conception. And this haunts this malnutrition in most of the developing countries right from home to town. You may be surprised. 1 in every 4 child in the world suffers from malnutrition. And whatever the cause of death below 5 years of age, in about 50% of these deaths, there is an association of malnutrition. And median case fatality rate is nearly 24% in severe malnutrition. If there is an edema associated, it doubles, almost it becomes 50%. Edema is not a good sign in the malnutrition. Coming to the Indian scenario, below 5 years of death, whatever the cause I told you. In the world, it is 50% malnutrition associated, but here in India, we are a little better, 35%. During the first 6 months, the child is supposed to be on exclusive breastfeeding, but unfortunately, 20 to 30% are already malnourished because of not giving breastfeeding exclusive or stopping breastfeeding much early. And weaning is again another problem in our country. So we don't give a good weaning food to see that the baby's nutrition is affected. We are not good at weaning food. Either we continue breastfeeding for a prolonged period, or we stop breastfeeding much early and we start giving other foods, and the child develops many problems because of that. So this is the slide. You see this. There are so many causes for under 5 mortality, like acute respiratory infections, diarrhea, 19% each. Measles causes 7% death, and malaria 5%, and perinatal causes are 18%, and other causes are 32%. Whatever the cause of death here, in them, 55% is associated with malnutrition. What I mean to say, whenever there is a malnutrition, the disease occur easily, and the severity of the disease also more, and resulting in disability and death. Whenever the malnutrition sets, the first thing that is going to affect is the weight is affected. If the malnutrition continues, even the height is also will be affected. Acute malnutrition, weight is less. Chronic malnutrition, if that is going on, even the length also, that is height also will be affected. Coming to the classification. Classifications of the PEM is based on either weight alone, or for the age, or for the height. We'll see that. So here is a Gomez classification. It is fully based on the weight alone. As per this, if the weight of the baby is more than 90%, it is normal. The first degree, second degree, third degree PEM, as per this classification, 75 to 90% of the weight, first degree, 60 to 75, second degree, less than 60%, third degree. This is Jellif's classification. Here also, the normal weight is more than 90% as per this classification. The first degree is 80 to 90, second degree is 70 to 80, third degree is 60 to 70, fourth degree is less than 60%. Then next is Wellcome classification. This is very widely accepted, and you should know. As per this classification, there are two criteria. One is weight, another one is edema. If the weight of the child is more than 80% of the expected, it is normal. If the weight is 60 to 80% without edema, it is called undernutrition. Weight 60 to 80% with edema, it is Kwashiorkor. If the weight is less than 60% without edema, Marasmus. Less than 60% with edema, it is Marasmus Kwashiorkor. Whenever there is an edema, we use the word Kwashiorkor. 60 to 80% without edema, undernutrition; with edema, Kwashiorkor. Less than 60% without edema, Marasmus; with edema, Marasmus Kwashiorkor. So simple. This definition you should know. You should remember. And most of the time in the examination, if you write this, you get more marks. And another popular in our country classification is IAP classification. We are practicing this from the year 1972. As per this classification, there are four grades. Grade 1, as usual, that means normal is more than 80%. The grade 1 is 71 to 80. It is also called as mild malnutrition. Grade 2, 61 to 70, moderate malnutrition. Grade 3, 51 to 60, severe malnutrition. Grade 4, less than 50, very severe malnutrition. And if there is an edema in addition to this, we suffix the K. That means Kwashiorkor means that is an edema. So whichever grade is, if there is an edema, you add the K, indicating there is an edema. and in our daily practice, we apply this IAP classification. In our examination, the practical examination, we expect at least this classification you should know it. And in addition, there are age independent indices like weight for height, mid-arm circumference, body mass index, other indexes like Kanavati, Dagdale, Rao and Singh's skin fold thickness. Look at this child, very emaciated, marasmic child. And we have a Shakira's tape measurement, mid-arm circumference. In this, if the mid-arm circumference is less than 11.5 centimeter, it is malnourished. And for a field worker, this tape helps. If it falls in the green zone, it is normal. If it falls in the yellow, it is borderline. If it is in the red zone, that means it is malnourished, pakka. Less than 11.5 centimeters circumference. It is in the COVID area also. Green zone, no cases. Yellow zone, few cases, there are no fresh cases. And red zone, there are active cases. Same. They have adapted probably from this concept only. What are the risk factors? For the causation of the malnutrition, so many factors are there. As I already mentioned that a good nutrition ensures both physical and development. Good development. The risk factors are plenty, many, varies from one country to another country, one geographical area to another geographical area, and one religion to another religion. In the same religion, it varies from one family to another family, depending upon their literacy rate, the customs they follow, the beliefs they have in them, food taboos, vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and some people they don't eat the crops grown underneath the ground, and some people they above the ground. A few like that, there are so many beliefs, and the willingness to accept the information. If a good information is given to them, there should be a willingness to accept to adapt, so that they can get the good benefit of it. Some people are very adamant, they don't take any new information. I just highlight this thing, enumerate the causes. If the child is born low birth weight, it is started with low reserve or premature, as occurs in multiple births, and closely spaced birth, early stoppage of the breastfeeding. And this is one problem we are facing. Exclusive breastfeeding, if it is given, we can reduce the mortality to more than 20%, what we are having it. More than 20% mortality can be reduced with just breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding alone. Too early or late weaning. Some people, the weaning is established in some families very late. There is Anna Prasadam, there are so many rituals to be observed, for which, they keep on postponing it. Sometimes, after 1 year they start. By then, the baby suffers sufficient amount of malnutrition. Recurrent infections. And when there is infection, starvation therapy. They don't give food, thinking that, it will help. If you starve the child, the child will get better soon. It's called starvation therapy. They don't give. And that will vicious cycle worsens the malnutrition further. As I told you, illiteracy, poverty, GDP of the nation, government policies, they are also going to help the nutrition. And if there are medical problems in the child, as because of the medical problem, the child cannot consume the food. They are called secondary malnutrition. Primary malnutrition, per se food is not available or good food is not given. Secondary malnutrition, there is some medical problem. Because of that, the child doesn't consume food. That is called secondary malnutrition. Coming to the pathogenesis, there are so many hypotheses for that. And in that, earlier it is believed if there is a total calorie deficiency results in marasmus. If there is only protein deficiency but not the calorie, that child develops kwashiorkor. That was the earlier belief. At that time, Gopalan and et al. From then Chennai put forward an hypothesis which has been accepted worldwide even today. What he says, the adaptation theory. During the period of malnutrition, a biochemical mechanism is set up in the body to mobilize the energy from non-essential organs like adipose tissue and muscle mass to protect the vital organs like brain, heart, liver, kidney by increasing the cortisol level in their body. This mobilizes the energy from adipose tissue, fatty acids are released. From muscle mass, the amino acids are mobilized. So it adapts to the critical situation where there is a malnutrition. And if the child is adapted like this very well, this child is going to develop marasmus. If the child fails to mobilize the energy from the non-essential organs to protect the essential organs, this is a disadaptation. The cortisol level in them, it is less. And this is called disadapted child. This child is going to develop kwashiorkor. This is the theory put forwarded by Gopalan and et al. There is one more theory called free radical theory. Free oxygen radicals are toxic to cell membrane and produced during various infections and other conditions. These oxides are normally buffered by proteins and neutralized by antioxidants like vitamin A, C, vitamin E and selenium, many other micro nutrients. In the absence of these micronutrients and the protein, they are not detoxified or eliminated from the body. As a result of that, accumulation of these toxic free radicals and damaging the cell membrane predispose the child to develop complications. This may damage liver cells, giving rise to kwashiorkor. This is another theory. So marasmus, as I told you, well-adapted child. There is an increased cortisol from the adrenal gland that mobilizes the energy and it is adapted. And the child is alert and nutritional rehabilitation when we start, so they recover fast because this is an adapted child. And liver is not enlarged because fat is mobilized from the liver. The fat is synthesized in the liver because the proteins are also synthesized here in the adapted child. So the fat which is synthesized in the liver is mobilized to the circulation. Fat is not accumulated. But in the kwashiorkor, it is not mobilized from the liver and fat accumulation occurs. The liver is grossly enlarged in the kwashiorkor but not in the marasmus. Remember, cortisol level is high in marasmus, mobilizes the energy. In Kwashiorkor, next slide, it is not mobilized. Edema occurs because of the hypoalbuminemia. Coming to the clinical features. Clinical feature depends upon the duration of the malnutrition and its severity, whether it is as associated infections or not. The Kwashiorkor, clinically, there are three cardinal features to make a diagnosis of Kwashiorkor. Number one, stunted growth, that is marked growth retardation. Less than 80% the weight should be with. Second, the psyche of the child. Psyche means how the child is socialization of the child with the other family members or the society. It is irritable, peevish, apathetic, does not show interest in the play, it resents your examination, cries always. This is the psyche. That is second important point. Third is edema. So stunted growth, 1, 2, psyche, and third, edema. These are the three cardinal features of Kwashiorkor. Kwashiorkor means in Ga language, deposit child. In Africa, there is a custom. If the child conceives for the next child, the first child is deported or deposed or taken away from the mother to the grandparent house. There, because the mother's love, affection and nutrition support is not there, that is the baby suffers nutritional deficiency and develops Kwashiorkor. This is called deposit child. In Ga language, it is called Africa. And Kwashiorkor, who was this thing? Who described in the world for the first time? William Cicely, Dr. William Cicely. In India, the first case was described in Assam tea estate by Dr. Ramalinga. So this is the picture of a Kwashiorkor dermatosis. You see that it is affecting the perineum and the lower limb mainly, and of course the upper limb is also little affected. Mainly it is in the perineum and the lower limb. This is called Kwashiorkor dermatosis. I will show you the next slide, still the better picture. And in malnutrition, there is a vitamin A deficiency also may be there. So look at the corneal opacity. That is the corneal. It has become fully opaque. The cornea, almost losing the sight. And this is the child. See how apathetic, not interested, not even. It doesn't have interest to even eat. Not only social interaction. This is called Kwashiorkor dermatosis, or we use the terminology plaque paint dermatosis. What do you mean by that? If you look at the old house, paint is fallen here and there, leaving the deeper layer of the exposing the deeper layer of the wall, and in other places, the paint is still there. In the same picture here, so in the same way here, so the scales are fallen here and there in the skin that is formed, exposing the raw red area, and in between the scales, which are still present. It looks like a wall of the old house. Plaque paint dermatosis. And it is attributed due to zinc deficiency in the Question. And you know that acrodermatitis enteropathica, and another entity due to zinc deficiency. That is not Kwashiorkor. That is, zinc deficiency can give rise to so many disorders. Another one disorder is acrodermatitis enteropathica. It is a variant of that. The hair change. Hair in the Kwashiorkor, they are lusterless, brittle, sparse, easily pluckable, and you see the segmentation of pigmentation, hyperpigmentation alternated with pigmentation and hyperpigmentation, indicating the period of good nutrition is pigmentation, normal pigmentation, alternated with hyperpigmentation during the period of malnutrition. This is an hypothesis. And see the pitting edema. Kwashiorkor. See the eyes are swollen because of the edema. The uniqueness of Kwashiorkor edema is there may be collection of the fluid everywhere except in peritoneal cavity. That is the uniqueness of protein energy malnutrition Kwashiorkor. If there is fluid collection in the peritoneal cavity in a Kwashiorkor baby, it indicates either it is a peritonitis or tuberculosis of the abdomen, peritoneal cavity. Per se, in Kwashiorkor, despite edema is there in other part, peritoneal cavity is free from it. Now look at here, how lethargy, peevish, shoulders are wasted. There is an edema, pitting edema. And we call that sugar baby, that is Kwashiorkor baby, as a fat sugar baby. Skin changes, I told you, hyperpigmentation, desquamation, dyspigmentation, flaky pain, dermatosis, enamel spots, internal spots, typically involving buttocks, perineum, and upper thighs. So there may be mucous lesions, buccal cavity. Then sometimes, the buccal cavity, the ulcers so deep, so through and through perforation can happen in the buccal cavity. That's called noma. Smooth tongue because of various nutrient deficiency, including iron and other vitamins, ichthyosis, angular stomatitis, herpes simplex stomatitis, edema, muscle wasting. They are weak, hypertonic, and unable to stand or walk. I have already described hair changes, mental changes. One more time, I want to emphasize on the mental changes: lethargy, apathetic, poor appetite, peevishness, irritable, not interested in the play. So it may, any malnutrition child, usually they are so ignorant or innocent, they don't bring the child for malnutrition per se to the hospital. When that baby develops some complications, usually the 5 dreaded complications in them are infection, hypoglycemia, hypothermia, hypothermia, and what about the 5 dreaded acute gastroenteritis and acute respiratory infections. For these complications, they bring the child. That time we have to look for associated malnutrition. So GA manifestation, diarrhea. So the diarrhea may be infectious, parasitic infestation, mucosal atrophy, and enter secondary to anemia, liver enlargement, fatty liver. There may be mineral and vitamin deficiency, superadded infections like tuberculosis, bronchopneumonia, measles, and enteritis. Coming to the marasmus. This is marasmus, it is like a mummified body, except skin, bone. A thin, papery, in between, skin and bone, there may be muscle mass. What I mean to say, gross wasting of the muscles. Emaciation to the core, including the buccal fat of the fat is disappeared. When buccal fat of the fat is disappeared, it is a very severe malnutrition. They look like monkeys. And the skin of the buttocks hanging down because of the adipose tissue loss, like a baggy pants appearance. I will show you the picture later. Marked stunting. In addition, no edema, no liver enlargement in marasmus. Non-essential features are mineral and vitamin deficiency, indolent ulcer and sores. There may be GA symptoms, liverish, either normal or shrunk, psychomotor changes, less compared to that baby. Little irritable, but they are very alert and they are ready to accept the food, unlike kwashiorkor babies. And all complications like hypothermia, hypoglycemia, septicemia, all are less because it is an adapted child. Adapted means we are not adapted. Baby himself has adapted to the situation of malnutrition to tide over that crisis. So look at this picture. The first picture is marasmus, emaciated severely, and see the monkey face because of the loss of fat, no edema. But on the other hand, you see this baby bloated with edema, bloated with a kwashiorkor. You don't see much air changes here. Here, changes are sparse, brittle, easily pluckable. See the baggy pant. That means the skin is thrown into folds because of loss of adipose tissue in the gluteal region. The gluteal region fat is acts like a cushion. When that cushion disappears, the skins are thrown into folds like a baggy pant. Look at here. And you can better see in the next picture here. Almost emaciated. That is the hallmark of marasmus. And marasmus is graded in, it is classified into 4 grades. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. What are they? In grade 1, there is a wasting of axilla and groin. In grade 2, wasting extended to thigh and buttocks. Thigh and buttocks. In grade 3, it extends to chest and abdomen. In grade 4, loss of buccal fat of fat. Marasmic baby. Severe acute malnutrition, it's called SAM. When that is there, SAM, the mortality rate increases. This is an emergency. Here, the weight for height of 70% or less. Extreme wasting. Presence of bilateral pitting edema of nutritional origin. Mid-upper arm circumference of less than 11.5 centimeter in children between the age of 1 to 5 years. You know that between 1 to 5 years, the mid-arm circumference is constant. And in this age group, if it is less than 11.5, it is malnourished. Severe malnutrition. What are the complications of SAM? Acute respiratory infection, diarrhea, gram-negative sepsis, um, poor feeding, electrolyte imbalance. Causes of death, I told you, five dreaded this thing problems are in protein energy malnutrition: hypoglycemia, hypothermia, dehydration following gastroenteritis, infection, usually gram-negative infections, severe anemia. Coming to the management of the protein energy malnutrition is very important. We have to rehabilitate as early as possible. So it is planned in two phases. The first phase is to treat the emergencies with which the child has come to the hospital. Once that is within first week, they are attended. From second week onwards, so real nutritional rehabilitation is started. Mainstay of treatment is to give adequate amounts of protein and energy, at least 150 calories per kg per day, and protein of 3 gram per kg per day to be made available. Best measure of efficacy of treatment is weight gain. To assess the child's recovery, the first sign of recovery in a protein energy malnutrition child is a smile on its face. You can get that as early as 3 days or 4 days. But it takes it varies from child to child anyway. The first sign of recovery is a smile in many hospitals. So it may not, sometimes in some books give 3 days, in some give 3 weeks, so many. In some centers they have made a criteria that once the child gets the smile, so they discharge from the hospital. But ideally, unless the child attains significant weight gain, so the child is not discharged. So ready to use therapeutic food is ideal. So where not much preparation required, straight away the child can eat. The one among such product, one of the such product is Hyderabad mix. As I told you, there are two steps: initial stabilization, first 1 week, and rehabilitation from second week for over a period of many weeks. So here, this I don't go in detail about the management because of the shortage of time. Look at in the first week. So the child which has got the emergency problem like hypoglycemia, hypothermia, dehydration, electrolyte imbalance are attended. And in addition, of course, infection. And micronutrients also started, except iron, that has to be started after 1 week. Then sensory stimulation is very important. That is, we have to encourage the child to play with the medical staff who are there in the vicinity. Much more than that, we should involve the mother all along with the baby in the rehabilitation program, so that she is the best person to give sensory stimulation required for the baby, and recovery is fast in them, and prepare for follow-up. There are 10 steps to manage the, and I don't, because of the shortage of so you just go through. I don't go in detail about all these things. So I'll come to the prevention. At national level, nutrition supplementation, that is fortification, iodinization, and many other the nutritional programs are there. Nutritional surveillance, that is more important. Define the character and the magnitude of and nutritional problems and strategies to tackle. Nutritional planning, formulation of the nutritional policy, improve food production and supplies, ensure distribution. That is equally important. At community level, health and nutritional education, promotion of education and literacy in the community, growth monitoring, integral health package, vigorous promotion of family planning programs. At family level, exclusive breastfeeding, not even a single drop of other milk or food is given when the baby is born. Only breast milk, breast milk, breast milk. Unless the child is premature or very low birth weight. So in a normal child, no other milk should come in between prelacteal feeds. Some people, they give Janmagutti, they give sugar water, baby as soon as the baby, all those things has to be curbed. Then some people, they give honey. No, only breastfeeding. First three days there is colostrum, few drops, only few drops of colostrum comes out. That is enough to the baby first 3 days. From third day onwards, milk flows, and that will be sufficient. So no need of any extra feeds other than breast milk right from, and within half an hour the baby should be put on to the breast. Please remember this point. Early initiation of the breastfeeding and continuation up to 6 months, not even with one drop of water. That's called exclusive breastfeeding. Complementary feeds, the breastfeeding is enough only for 6 months. After that, that is not sufficient to support the rapid growth that is happening. So you have to start solid food. You have to introduce solid food in addition to breastfeeding. Breastfeeding to be continued up to 2 years, and from after completing 6 months, you start introducing solid food which are available in the house. We don't encourage any commercial products. The commercial products are only to make the profit for those companies, but all the food in India, we being 80% of population live in rural area, we have all food grains. Only thing is, we ourselves should know about how to prepare different food grains to make it a balanced food to the child and give it to the baby. And vaccination as per the schedule. And we are lucky, our children now are getting even the costly vaccines like rotavirus to prevent diarrhea, rotavirus, that is the most common diarrhea in children, and pneumococcal vaccine, very costly, 3,800 rupees per dose. And government of India, we should be grateful to it, is giving it to all children across India. HIP, hepatitis B, and we know that this thing, immunization schedule which was there earlier, these are the new things have been added. See that the vaccines are covered to every child. And of course, another important thing is spacing between the pregnancies, so that it is good for the mother to give a healthy baby next time when she becomes pregnant. And also she can take care of this child, first 3 years if she is not pregnant. Future baby and this baby both will not suffer if there is a good spacing of the family. Thank you.